Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn how to set up Artifactory on Ubuntu using Docker Compose. So before we get into a demo, let's try to understand what is Artifactory and then why we need Artifactory as part of our DevOps toolchain. So Artifactory is one of the popular open source binary repository managers. Using Artifactory, you can store all your binary artifacts. So Artifactory has a lot of features. So some of the features I have mentioned here, right? So they support 27 different package types, including Helm chart, Docker images, regardless of the technology stack. Okay, and then it is kind of a single source of truth for all your binaries. And you can very well integrate Artifactory with the CI/CD tool. You can integrate with Jenkins or Circle CI or Azure DevOps. You can integrate with all kind of CI/CD tool. And Artifactory is providing role-based authorization, right? So when you are planning to do a releases, you can control who can access the artifact, which are all stored in the Artifactory repository manager. And then you can also create a local repository, remote repository, or virtual repositories to manage your binary files. So there are several ways you can install Artifactory. So how do you install Artifactory? If you go to Google, if you just type Artifactory download, that is going to take you to Artifactory website. So if you click on this website, you see here, there are several options you can use in order to set up Artifactory. You can install Artifactory using Helm chart, you can use RPM or Debian packages, or you can also use Docker Compose. This video is going to talk about how to install Artifactory using Docker Compose. And then you can also download Artifactory from Docker Hub by using this image, or you can also use other options as well. Okay, but this video is talking about how to configure Artifactory using Docker Compose. So let me go back to my presentation here, right? So this is how we are going to configure Artifactory on Ubuntu using Docker Compose. So we are going to provision a new Ubuntu EC2 instance in AWS Cloud. It needs to have at least 4 GB RAM, and we have to install Docker Compose on that Ubuntu EC2 instance. And then we are going to create this Docker Compose file. I will talk about how to create this Docker Compose file. We can download it from Artifactory website. And then we are going to perform sudo docker compose app command in order to start the Artifactory container. And then finally, we are going to verify in the log file just to see if Artifactory is up and running. And then we are going to access Artifactory in the browser. So this is how we are going to configure Artifactory on Ubuntu using Docker Compose. So I was talking about this particular Docker Compose file, isn't it? So you can go to this particular website, which we just got here, right? So when you type this command, it's going to take you to here. And then when you click on this one, so this is going to download the installable for you. Okay. So now this has been downloaded. So you click on it. So this has extracted here. So if you see here, this has created this particular folder. So if you go inside the templates folder, there are various Docker Compose file. So you can click on probably this one, docker-compose.yml file. So this talks about, how your Docker Compose file should look like. And you can replace this one, right? So because we are not going to use the Artifactory Pro version, we are going to go with the Artifactory open source version. And if you wanted to know what is the latest release, when you click on the previous releases, so it kind of shows that Artifactory 7.49.6. So this is as of now the latest version. So we are going to set up Artifactory 7.49.6 as of this particular video. Okay, and I have already created this Docker Compose file, so which has all the information over here. Okay, so that is how you can download this Docker Compose file. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first go ahead and then provision a new Ubuntu EC2 instance, because we need to have a new Ubuntu EC2 instance. So I'm going to configure this, and then we need to open up port 8081 and then 8082 in the security firewall rule. Okay, and then we need to install Docker Compose after we provision. Okay, so let's get started. Let me go to AWS console. Click on EC2 instance, launch instance. I'm going to name this as Artifactory Ubuntu. I'm going to select Ubuntu 18.04 and the instance type needs to have at least 4 GB RAM. So it has to be t2.medium. And then I'm going to select one of my existing keys. And then we have to open port 8081 and then 8082 as part of security firewall rule. So click on this one. So I'm going to add the port number 8081, 82. And then that's a CIDR block. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to increase the storage. At least it needs to have 15 GB as a root volume. Perfect. So that's pretty much over there. So this is a summary right here. Okay, so click on launch instance. So there you go, 15 GB. Click on launch instance. It's currently up and running, my EC2 instance. So let me connect to the EC2 instance. Perfect. So my EC2 instance is connected. So now let's start our installation. So let me first change the host name to Artifactory. I did, and then let me exit and then log in back again so that it is updated. Perfect. Let me also increase the font here. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and then perform sudo apt update because this is newly created EC2 instance. So let me update to all the latest software packages. And then we're going to install docker-compose. So docker-compose is kind of a utility. Using this docker-compose, you can run multi-container applications. It is also a very simple way of configuring your Docker containers. Otherwise, you'll have to do a lot of manual steps. So if you actually go to my website, I do have instructions on configuring Artifactory in a different ways, right? So if you go here, there are several articles I do have. So one of the article is, if you see here, you can configure Artifactory by downloading this way, right? I don't think this is actually working. This is slightly outdated instruction. So like this also you can configure Artifactory, or you can also use Docker as well. You can also perform all these Docker commands one by one, right? Look at that. So you can also download Artifactory. You can configure Artifactory by downloading the image and all. So this is also another way. Okay, but you see here, so we are downloading the Docker image and then we are configuring by executing docker run command. But lot of manual commands, isn't it? So you are completely avoiding that when you're using docker-compose. Okay, so now we have installed docker-compose. So we have to create this docker-compose file. So I already told you all. So when you go into this website, you can download the docker-compose installables. So we have already done that. And then you can open this file and then you can start configuring, right? You can just start configuring. So I know this is like a cumbersome process, but don't worry, I have already simplified that process. So I already have a docker-compose file created here. So we can go ahead and then use that docker-compose file. So let me go to my item. So we just need to create this docker-compose file. I'm going to copy and paste this docker-compose file. So just in case if you want to download a slightly different version, okay, so you can go to JFrog website. Okay, so you can click on previous releases. Okay, so let's say if you want to install this particular version, right, 7.47.14, then you can just mention that over here. It is as simple as that. Okay, rest everything is pretty much same. Okay. All right, I'm okay with installing this particular version 7.49.6. So let's go with that. And if you also see here, that is my container name and restart always. It means that even when I restart my EC2 instance, I want to start the container as soon as it restarts. Okay, and then this is the network. So this is kind of a network what I want to decide where all the containers will be running, but we have only one container. And this is the port number 8081 and then 8082. And then this is the volume. This is where Artifactory is going to store all the data. Okay, perfect. So let me save this file. Now we just have to go ahead and then perform docker compose in order to run the container. So I want to run it in the detached mode. That's why I'm using -d here. Okay, the image got downloaded. Now it is in the process of running the container. So before that, let's quickly see whether the image got downloaded. Obviously the image has been downloaded, as you can see here. Wow, look at the size of the image. It is 1.48 GB. Okay, so right now it is in the process of running the container. So how do you know whether the container is coming up? So you can quickly check the logs. You can execute this particular command in order to follow the logs. So there you go. I think it is pretty much done. Let me press Ctrl C to come out of it, clear the screen. So how do I know whether Artifactory container is up and running? So there are a couple of ways you can do. You can perform sudo docker ps. This is going to tell you whether your container is up and running or not. You see here, so container is up and running. And then you can also quickly check curl localhost and then :8081. So this also confirms that Artifactory is up and running. So we already opened 8081 and then 8082 in our firewall rules. So we should be able to access Artifactory right now on the browser. So let me go to AWS console and then copy the public DNS name and go to browser and then paste this 8081. So there you go. So as you can see here, it is in the process of coming up. So when you type 8081, it immediately changes to 8082. So don't worry, that's internally it does it. So we don't have to worry about that. So, but we need to make sure we need to open up port 8081 and then 8082. So we need to log in right now. So the default username is admin. And then the default password for Artifactory is password, all lowercase. So as soon as you enter, it is asking you to click on get started. Okay, so now we have to reset our admin password. So you cannot use the default password. So I'm going to, of course, you all see here, right? So let me change the password ASDF1234 and then I'm going to put dollar symbol. Okay, and then ASDF1234 and then dollar symbol. Okay, so this is the password I'm going to give. Again, you can change the password based on the password policy your organization is following, but I just want to, just for this demo purpose, I'm just using this simple admin password. Okay, and then click on next. We don't have to set the base URL, that's fine. I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to configure default proxy as part of this demo. I'm going to skip it. We're not going to create any repositories per se. If you want, you can create repositories, but we're not going to do anything like that. Click on skip and then finish. So there you go, right? So our JFrog Artifactory is up and running, right? Yeah, so that is how, guys, this is how you can set up Artifactory on Ubuntu EC2 instance using Docker Compose. Maybe in the next video, we will talk about how to integrate Artifactory with Jenkins. Awesome, guys. Thank you for watching this video.